everyone, how is everyone doing? Today is Tuesday, Tuesday 19th of May. Apologies. I hope everyone is doing well. This is Dr. D, Q&A with Dr. D. We are talking about the elbow this week. And today's topic, we are talking about the question, what is tennis elbow? I'm going to wait for a little bit of minutes just for some people to come in. I'm running a bit late today, guys, so apologies for that. I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes while I get set up on IG here. How is everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing well on Facebook and also on IG. We're talking about all things elbow today, guys. And I have some good visuals for you guys too. So guys, today we are talking about the elbow, and the question that we're talking about is, what is tennis elbow? This is probably a term that you guys have heard very commonly in the medical world. It's called lateral epicondylitis. Lateral meaning outside. Epicondyle is a description of a part of the bone of the elbow. Itis, anytime you hear the word itis, you should think of some sort of swelling and inflammation. So lateral epicondylitis is a medical term for tennis elbow. So exactly what is it? So anytime that you notice that you may have pain on the outside of your elbow, right in this position, I'll pull my sweater up so you can see right here in that position for the guys on Facebook, same here on IG. Anytime that you have pain on the outside of your elbow, there may be a chance that you have something called lateral epicondylitis or tennis elbow. It is a common overuse injury that happens at the elbow. All right, and basically is inflammation of the muscles that work on the extension or raising the hand up against or up to the ceiling, what we call extension, the extensors of the elbow. It looks like this for those guys that want to get a little bit of a better anatomical view. So if you're looking at this picture, you will see that those muscles that are outlined, let's see if I can enlarge in this. You can see that there, that are outlined in orange are the muscles that are affected. Okay, and those are the muscles that perform the function of extending your wrist. Okay, so there are a couple of people that commonly get this sort of injury. Okay, and the people that commonly get this sort of injury are the guys that are doing a lot of work with tools that are more than 2 to 3 pounds. So think of carpenters. Okay, using very heavy hammers or using very heavy tools that they have to do that motion with quite a bit. People who do a lot of overhead stuff. So think of tennis players, specifically when they're doing their backhand. If they're not doing it with the proper mechanics, they can definitely start getting the wrist involved, where the wrist gets into a lot of extension and starts really firing up those muscles instead of that coming from the shoulder. And then people who do a lot of overuse, what we call overuse motions, which means you're using a small motion over and over again, and over time what happens is that those muscles start to get irritated if they're not doing your task in the proper mechanics, or they're not doing it in the right way for some reason. A very classic example of this is for guys that are not ergonomically set up on their desks. So this is something that you guys may not think of, because we hear tennis elbow and we think, okay, you have to be active to get this. That's not quite the case. So for example, if you're not set up at your desk, and I'm gonna step up back a bit here so you guys can see me on Facebook. If you guys are typing at your computer and you find that your desk is a little bit too high, and I'm gonna turn to the side, your desk is too high, your wrists are dropped down, but your fingers are doing the work, your hands are actually in a relatively extended position. And in that extended position, you are using the extensors of your forearm a lot more than they should be doing. They should be doing a lot more work. So you can find that you can get predisposed to getting lateral epicondylitis or tennis elbow. I have a couple of people here. Mark, hey Mark. I have golf elbows on the inside of my elbows, very annoying. Mark, we're gonna talk about that soon. Stay tuned. Hopefully on Thursday we'll be talking about that. Okay, thank you for joining. David says, I love tennis. I know you love tennis. So guys, so once you get into that interesting ergonomic position, you can really start predisposing yourself for that. And depending on how much irritation that's going on at that elbow, you will also see that you can start getting a lot of irritation when you start even just using your hands as you usually do in terms of gripping. So if you're gripping a knife and you're doing some work in the kitchen and you're cooking and you're starting to get into that motion where you're cutting like that, you can start noticing that there are quite a few things that's going to start flaring up that elbow. All right. And you will notice that this kind of goes all the way through your day. You notice that there's so many things that you use those extensors of your forearm for that you're not even aware of. For example, lifting groceries. How many times we lift groceries and we do that instead of lifting with our arm? We do it all the time. Or even opening heavy doors where you have to use that rotation component. We usually sometimes cock our wrist back into that extended position, and you will see we're really going to start engaging those extensors of the forearm. Okay, so there are a lot of different ways that we can start engaging the extensors of our forearm in our daily activities that we're not even aware of. Even things like when you're actually lifting a coffee cup, or for me it would be tea. Okay, depending on how you're holding it, if it's a very heavy object and you're not in that position, if you're dropping your hand down, you're definitely getting into that extended position where you can start firing that up. So guys, we use our extensors every day for so many different reasons. Hey, how are you? For so many different reasons. So it's really important for you guys to start paying attention to mechanics when we're starting to get into that specific diagnosis. How would you guys know if you have lateral epicondylitis? One of the most telling ways that you can tell is that you're going to put your fingers and then stick the pads of your fingers into the muscles on the outside of your elbow. If you put some firm pressure in there and you put a little bit of pressure there and it doesn't feel good, for most people it doesn't feel good, but if it reproduces your pain, there may be a chance that you have some lateral epicondylitis. There are other orthopedic tests that physical therapists use in order to make sure that this diagnosis is your diagnosis, because there are different things that can mimic this sort of pain, anywhere from tarsal tunnel syndrome, where you have some sort of pain coming down the arm. It can radiate down the arm. You can have carpal tunnel. You can have radiculopathies. That can also be a differential diagnosis. For you, you just want to really get a good handle on what your symptoms are and make sure you report that consistently to your physical therapist or your orthopedist, and they would be able to give you a correct diagnosis and then start pairing some things in terms of what you can do in order to help yourself. Okay. Hey Casey, how are you? So guys, what are the things, if you suspect that you may have lateral epicondylitis, what are some things that you can start doing on your own? So things that you want to start doing that you can definitely implement yourself without a medical professional is start looking at your ergonomics, start looking at your mechanics. Okay guys, it's very easy to get into the bad habits, specifically now that we are home, in terms of getting into that slouch position. When I talked about the neck and the shoulder a couple of weeks ago, we spoke a bit about that. It's super easy to get into bad positions, specifically when you're typing for long periods of time. It is a really good idea to make sure that you're ergonomically set up so that you're not predisposing any one of those muscle groups to pain and symptoms that can happen over time. This is one of those things that we don't think about doing if you're sitting at a computer typing for 8 hours a day, which a lot of us are, and we're not used to doing that. It is crucial that you pay attention to how you're sitting, because that's going to really influence what muscle groups are working, especially if they have not been working before, and also what muscle groups are going to start coming under a lot of stress and strain. The typical thing that you want to do to protect those muscles, guys, is if you are sitting, you want your shoulders to be nice and relaxed and not hunched all the way up or not hunched all the way down. You also want to make sure that your elbow is at a relatively 90-degree angle. I'm hoping you guys can see me here. At a relatively 90-degree angle, and you want to make sure your wrist is in a neutral position. That would be a neutral position, guys. If your wrists tend to hang out here, you are in an extended position as you're typing. You have to take a look at that. Similarly, if your wrist is lower and you're typing, you want to take a look at that. That will start affecting you over time. You want to make sure that your wrist is in a nice neutral position, and of course your wrists are supported, okay? So that these muscles are not always fired up on tension trying to hold it up against gravity. A lot of people will notice in their desk setup at work that they have this nice pad that sits right in front of your laptop or your keyboard that helps to support your wrist. That's the reason for that. If these muscles are fired up all the time, they are going to get tired. So you want to give them as much support as possible so that they are able to do their job correctly in terms of allowing you to use your fingers to type on the keyboard, but not be on all the time. Okay, guys? So that's a little bit of a synopsis and scenario about lateral epicondylitis. I see there are quite a few people on. Drop some comments in for me, guys. Comment live if you're here live. If you're on the replay, please press replay and tell me what are your questions about lateral epicondylitis or elbow pain. Mark, I see that you do have a question about golfer's elbow. Again, we're going to come back to that. We're talking about that on Thursday, so please stay tuned for that. But if you have any questions, guys, please let me know. Drop some comments in. Give me some love if this was helpful for you or this information was helpful. Let me know. What are we thinking today, guys? Hey. Awesome. All right. And hopefully this information is helpful, guys. This is one of those things that pops up that you never, it seems like it's an annoying thing and you don't pay attention and you don't realize how many moving parts really contribute to pain in your elbow, and it can start really manifesting, as we've talked about before extensively, all the way down to the hand and even starting all the way up into the shoulder. So guys, the elbow is always, I always say it's the middle child. It's the one that gets caught in between the wrist and caught between the shoulder. Your mechanics are probably going to dictate a lot of the issues that you have with overuse injuries at the elbow if it's not a traumatic injury. So looking at your posture and your positioning is so important, and it's so key. Okay. Mark says, thank you. You are welcome. Stay tuned on Thursday. We'll talk about your golfer's elbow. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you guys. Stay tuned. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Again, I got to keep saying the day until I forget what day it is. But stay tuned. Tomorrow we'll pick up with another diagnosis. On Thursday, we are going over golfer's elbow. And then on Friday, we are going to be going over some key exercises that you guys can do to start addressing pain. If you're having elbow pain, there's some key stretches and some exercises that will be helpful for you. We'll go over those exercises then, okay? In the meantime, between time, if you have questions, please feel free to drop me an inbox message if it's something of a personal nature. Share this with someone who needs to hear about an elbow, who has an elbow thing and has been suffering with it for a while. Share it with them, and we'll keep plugging on tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll talk some more about the elbow and things that can happen at the elbow and your common questions. All right, guys, so I hope everyone is doing well, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.